A station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
You're going to birthday parties. That's what you do when you're 6 years old. You shouldn't be fighting for your life or recovering from a gunshot wound because of an idiot with a gun.
And coming up on DC News Now at noon, 2 kids shot after getting off a Metro bus. We'll have the latest on the investigation. And later, take the weight off your wallet. We're breaking down the latest inflation report and what it means when it comes to stretching your dollar.
And we saw a few scattered showers out there last evening into the start of the overnight. And as we get into the later hours of today, there's some steadier rain on the way. When should you expect that to roll in? We'll have a look coming up in just a bit.
Damon, thank you, and good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the News at Noon. I'm Mark Hall. Another day of violent crime in the district, this time in Northwest, and that's where police say that 2 kids and a man were shot. DC News Now's Lex Juarez has the latest.
It's horrific. Those kids, a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, getting off of the Metro bus coming home from school when they were shot. And the shooting stemmed from a fight that actually started on the bus. Now, police say that several people got onto the bus when it stopped at the bus stop here, and then they started fighting someone who was already riding it. That fight moved out onto the street and sidewalk, and that's when police say one of the people pulled out a gun and started shooting. The 2 kids who were hit got back on the bus with the adult they were with, and the bus went farther down the street to safety, and the man who was hit took himself to an apartment down the street for aid. Now, this shooting, one of many that's happened involving kids this week alone, but community members say that each time they hear about it, it all hurts the same.
But we can never begin to feel numb, because if ever you can feel, a pinch or something on your body that hurts you, when you see something that hurts someone else, it should hurt us. It should make us feel, because you're a person. We're not robots walking around here.
Well, the bus was full of people when this happened, and all of the victims were unintended targets. Now, the person that they were shooting at, police have been able to find that person and speak to them, but they do not have any suspects named or shooters named or arrested in this case. They ask that any community members who were on the bus or who saw the fight and have any video of it to please come forward. In Washington, Lex Juarez, DC News Now.
Thank you, Lex. The distribution of fentanyl continues to be a problem across Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. DC News Now's Skylar Salas has more on what's being done to address the problem.
Due to the efforts of the Potomac Highlands Drug Task Force and several other law enforcement agencies, 2 Baltimore-based drug trafficking organizations have been shut down by federal indictments for trafficking drugs across Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia.
The threat that we face is much greater than ever before, because the potency of the drug that is being sold now is greater than anything we've ever seen.
According to U.S. Attorney William Illenfeld, the large amounts of fentanyl being distributed to West Virginia has reached an all-time high, but ongoing investigations have led to more than 30 people involved in drug distribution being charged.
We could not have brought these cases together and indicted 34 people and dismantled these drug trafficking organizations without the work of all of these agencies coming together, collaborating, sharing information, leveraging resources, and working together.
Margaret Shrewsbury has lived in Romney, West Virginia for 30 years and says the drug bust can only mean positive things.
And certainly we're better off to attack it at the dealer level rather than the user level.
But others feel it won't fix the overall problem.
I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I think it's going to make things worse.
I think drug use in the community is always due to be here. So hopefully this sends a message to those in Baltimore County or any other county that's coming in trafficking drugs that eventually they're going to be caught.
Federal officials say the 2 drug organizations had been operating since 2020. Reporting in Romney, West Virginia, Skylar Salas with DC News Now.
Skylar, thank you. In Maryland, the state trooper has been arrested and is facing up to 30 years in prison for leaking information to a suspected drug dealer. Corporal Justin Riggs worked for Maryland State Police for 10 years. He was based in Hagerstown, and investigators with the U.S. Attorney's Office say that Riggs was willing to accept payment from the drug dealer in exchange for information about an operation targeting him.
Not shocked because I hear a lot about police corruption.
Suspended without pay, he faces several charges, including bribery, aiding drug distribution, and conspiracy to distribute drugs. Riggs has a hearing scheduled for this Friday. Well, the Federal Aviation Administration is recovering after a rough day at the airport across America. A computer outage forced the FAA to issue a ground stop yesterday morning, keeping hundreds of planes out of the sky for almost 2 hours. Now, by Wednesday, FlightAware tracked more than 1,300 flight cancellations and 9,000 delays across the country. The agency says first reports indicate a damaged database file caused issues with one of its pilot notification systems.
But obviously our more immediate focus is technical, understanding exactly how this happened, why the redundancies and the backups that were built into the system were not able to prevent the level of disruption that we saw today, and to make sure that we have 100% clarity on any and all steps that are needed so that it can't happen again.
Now that system is back online, and officials warn travelers may still see delays. Well, covering Charles County, Virginia, sheriff's deputies are investigating after a middle school student brought this stun gun to the school. Investigators say the student pulled it out during lunch and used it on another student. No one was seriously hurt. Deputies were able to take the gun away from the student. It's not clear if any charges will be filed. Well, happening today, the December inflation report was released, and it points in a positive direction for the U.S. economy. Economists say that they saw a drop in inflation rates, leveling off to 6.5% compared to this time last year. The cost of food continues to be an issue for people, but more from extreme weather, bird flu, and labor shortages. Those prices have increased to 0.3% a month. There's still concern when it comes to interest rates. President Biden's legal team has found more confidential documents. This time they were recovered from his Delaware home. This comes really days after classified documents were found at his former office in D.C. So far, there are no details on the specific level of classification of the documents. The president's press secretary has not made any comment on the president's handling of the documents. According to Richard Sauber, a special counsel to the president, a small number of documents with classified markings were found in a storage space in Biden's garage in Wilmington, Delaware, with one document being located in an adjacent room. Now, regardless of the Justice Department review, that possibility that Biden mishandled classified records is becoming a political headache for the president, who said former President Donald Trump was irresponsible for keeping hundreds of such records at his private club in Florida.
This is under review by the Department of Justice. It is literally under review right now. As I am talking to you, it is under review. So I'm not going to get beyond the process. I'm not going to get beyond what the president said.
Attorney General Merrick Garland has asked the U.S. attorney based in Chicago to review the matter. In Virginia, where the 2023 legislative session is officially underway, DC News Now's Jackie DeFusco was at the Virginia State Capitol in Richmond to find out what's at stake and what's likely to pass.
Well, this will be Governor Glenn Youngkin's second swing at a legislative session. Like round one, Republicans control the House of Delegates and Democrats control the state Senate. But that blue barrier just got a little bit higher.
On day one of the 2023 session, Democrats growing their slim majority in the state Senate. Aaron Rouse flipping a red seat blue in a critical special election and making a surprise appearance at a press conference this morning.
Voters of Virginia Beach have spoken and Norfolk has spoken that we will not roll back the hands of time when it comes to women's reproductive rights.
Democrats now have a 22-18 edge in the upper chamber as lawmakers get their first chance to weigh in on abortion rights since the fall of Roe versus Wade. Both sides of the aisle now acknowledging this will hurt Governor Glenn Youngkin's chances of passing a ban on most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy.
It doesn't change any of our agenda at all, and we have to go to work. We have to get things done together.
But But Youngkin's $1 billion tax relief proposal, which includes cuts for people and corporations, getting harsh reviews from Democrats like Senator Louise Lucas.
We need to make sure that we put money into the pockets of hardworking families and education, and to hell with the governor's proposal.
Republican House Speaker Todd Gilbert fighting back.
The state is flush with cash, which means that we are overtaxing Virginians.
Gun reform is once again top of mind after a 6-year-old allegedly shot and injured his teacher in a Virginia elementary school. But Democrats aren't expecting results.
It's ridiculous and it's embarrassing. But unfortunately, our colleagues want to dance around the issue.
Republicans like Senator Steve Newman are instead focusing on school safety and improving a broken behavioral health system.
The governor's put an enormous amount of money and direction in for mental health. I think we're going to agree on that.
The General Assembly will also decide the fate of climate change commitments, competing casino projects in Central Virginia, and retail sales for recreational marijuana. Here's House Republican leader Terry Kilgore.
Marijuana will be addressed this year. How? We don't know.
The session is expected to last 46 days, and the decisions made here could have major consequences in an election year that will see every seat in the General Assembly on the ballot later this fall. Reporting at the Capitol, I'm Jackie DeFusco.